No. Okay.
For participants.
Yeah.
Participants real quick.
Make co-host.
No, I just want to make sure that we're not muted. Nope, we're not.
Okay. Let me ask, Hey, Hillary, we're going to start in a few minutes.
Okay.
Is anemia not always iron associated? Like,
Doesn't have to be. Yeah, what are the other types?
Of.
Anemia that's not iron deficient. It's like hemolytic anemia.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys, unfortunately, we have
oh, I
to.
didn't know. So-
Megaloblastic.
And
Megaloblastic.
all that
Thank
shit.
you so much for
Yeah.
your
What
time.
was the other one? I just had a card.
And your
Like
expertise, spending 2
myeloproliferative.
hours
Is that one?
Probably there's some other. For our purposes though, Brian, this would be an iron deficient anemia.
Great, thank you. That's all right.
Hey, Hillary. Okay. Okay.
You can use your microphone.
Yeah, so I
Leave
just,
computer audio.
okay, so yeah, Hillary, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, thank you so much. Hey, Mahmood.
Can I do a test and make sure I can share my screen real quick?
Absolutely, please.
Can you enable participant screen sharing?
No, please, yeah, Megan, I'm not.
I think I can. Hold on. I am hearing like a crazy echo when you talk.
When we talk.
When you talk, yeah.
I'll touch base with you next week.
Connected to audio.
Thank you. Yeah, moderating questions.
Okay, Hillary, you should be good now.
Hey, Megan,
Hi.
are you still hearing an echo?
No, it's better.
All right, we got your slides.
Where's the audio coming from?
You can see the slide.
So it's from, we're on the main, we're in the main.
You're on.
Okay, you gotta, but you're not on, you gotta disconnect. Sorry, I'm sorry. Better not mute.
I'm on our like to write that specific grant. Leave computer on.
Yeah, and really, you don't even, you can disconnect from the meeting completely. Because it's gonna be right
Yeah,
here.
you're gonna be, let's see, you're right, I'm looking, that's you right there, okay.
Yeah, it sounds really like chaotic.
Okay, we're just getting started. I think once everybody gets in here, hopefully.
Meeting before this was also in this Zoom. And so you had a bunch, you had what, 8 people on laptops? All in the same meeting because they didn't turn the system on, so they all had their mics and speakers on, but we're sitting far enough apart. So now that you're on in the room, whatever laptop is on, it's bouncing through them and then coming back. That's why it sounds like it does.
We don't have any more, no one else is on audio in here, so.
Sure.
Okay.
Their speakers could be on.
So you're off. Am I the only one? Is anybody else on the Zoom in here? No, okay. Megan, is it okay? How's the audio?
Sorry, that's better now.
Okay, cool.
So that's right.
Okay. Great. And so we're good. Thank you so much.
Okay, let me hit, are we ready?
I think we're ready. Why don't you hit stream and then we can kick things off here.
You are recording and you are streaming.
Well, we're not streaming yet to LinkedIn, so give me one sec.
Oh,
Okay, thanks. Okay, we're good. Hilary, welcome to Case Western Reserve University. We're get going formally. I just wanted to introduce myself.
to you and to sort of the group, my name is Michael Goldberg. I'm our executive director of the Veale Institute for Entrepreneurship on campus. It's really been a pleasure. Now our second year of partnership with Joe Jankowski and Mahmoud Ganoum, who you'll meet as part of this conversation, who co-lead our Innovation and Entrepreneurship Pathways program here at the School of Medicine. I think most of this crew is first M1s, although we have some M2s and some other visitors as well, in addition to folks that are joining online. Jonathan is going to be our student moderator, but we really do, of course, value questions for everyone. We'll be with you for the next hour if that works. And if you're on Zoom and you have a question, just put it in the chat or raise their hand, and Jonathan and I will sort of be taking a look at sort of who's online. If you're watching on LinkedIn Live, just put your question into the comments and Megan and I will be monitoring that. So with that, logistics out of the way, Happy New Year. Hilary, thanks for kicking us off for 2023, and I'll turn it over to Jonathan.
Great. Okay, thank you again, Hilary, for coming and speaking with us today. So if you don't mind, do you mind introducing yourself, telling a little bit about your career journey?
That would be great. Thank you so much for having me. I hope this is a conversation, not as much of a presentation, but I think visual aids are always nice. So I do have some slides that I can walk the group through. This is, I'll go ahead and put this in presentation mode. I do appreciate having had a prep meeting with Jonathan, and some of the questions I think you might have. I'm in awe of all of you in med school, smart folks, but I'm happy to share my experience in the healthcare industry, in product management, in roles of innovation, and share that journey with you. So first of all, this is a blurb that's out on LinkedIn. Who am I? My name is Hilary Loustaunau. You can say that long last name, like nice to know Loustaunau. Basically, I've held roles in the space of early in my career, marketing and sales. I've held roles in product management, and now most recently in data and analytics. So I thought it might be helpful to help walk you through that career journey. And I know that in terms of this team, probably the most recent experience in the space of data and analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and really just, trying to take out the friction in healthcare, in our systems, our processes, and our patient care through innovation. So little blurb about myself there. Next slide, who am I? You are all students. Again, my hat's off to you. I have been a student my whole life. And I think maybe my first comments about a career journey is that it doesn't end with a diploma. So there's some pictures of diplomas. I was undergrad at Wittenberg University. I did do my MBA at Franklin University. I was fortunate to be awarded a Fulbright grant from the U.S. government after college, where I studied in Mexico. I not in medicine. I was political science and Spanish major. I was post NAFTA, looking at state governments for attracting foreign investment. That was what my thesis was on. But it awarded me the ability to find a husband, and I ended up marrying a professor from Mexico, and so that's that history. So who else am I? I'm a multitasking mom. I see men, I see women on this call, and you will become, in the medical field, you're going to be juggling and multitasking throughout your lives as well. So few things. I live in Dublin, Ohio. I have two sons. One thing from a medical perspective, my oldest son is autistic, and so that's a journey in its own. Happy to field questions. What I'm sharing with you, I'm sharing about myself, because as we go into my career, I'm also open to share and talk about the journey when it comes to balancing work-life balance as well. And then what have I been throughout my career? I would say a transformational leader. The bulk of my career has been with Cardinal Health. So I'm going to share with you about that organization, but it has been in being in that intersection of people, process, and technology. So that's just kind of a general introduction there. I thought today that we could talk about, I could walk through some of the experiences that I've had in my career, and then go to also some of the specific use cases. I guess some of the work that's being done that I am familiar with in terms of, most recently in Cardinal Health. But so this slide here, I thought this was nice because it just shows, what is a product manager? It is a role that you'll hear a lot of in technology type teams, but typically it is an individual that is a good communicator, somebody that's plugging and cross-functionally working with lots of teams. And these kind of teams, as you're working, if you go into, the biopharma medical business space, these are roles that often work in processes that are called agile, agile teams. And it's usually the one that's setting strategic direction, approving and setting and bucketizing, is that a word? Breaking down the work that technical teams may undergo in what they call sprints in a agile function. They're focused on the UX. That acronym means user experience, right? So think about developing out websites or developing out mobile apps. You're constantly thinking of that user journey. You're working with technical teams. What are the constraints? What's the possibility, and the business needs? Your budget and your timelines and so forth. So it's constant. That has been the focus of my career, and I guess what I market myself as. So I can pause here. I do want this to be conversational. Just I did my introduction. Any questions about the introduction or who I am, or how I can best share given that background?
Yeah, thanks so much so far. So you kind of, as you alluded.
Please introduce yourself when you ask questions. Sorry.
Awesome. Scott Perkins, second-year medical student, background in AI machine learning research with focus in healthcare. So really excited to hear that. But also, you mentioned that you had a background in political science and Spanish, and now you're kind of talking about all these broad different areas that your career is involved. How did you kind of equip yourself to work in those areas? How did you kind of continue to learn, continue to develop throughout your career? And what lessons might we be able to learn from that as we move into a medical field that's rapidly changing and will need to learn things likely throughout our careers?
Right. I think that, again, when I go back to, what is the most important, because the title that I've had most recently, that title didn't even exist 5, 7, 6 years ago, right? Director, program director for augmented intelligence, for artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the what you study and learn now, it's ever evolving. So I think what are the building blocks? Going to a liberal arts university, learning to be a very strong communicator, a good writer, a good leader of teams. I mean, those building blocks is what you learn. Yes, I started in kind of an international sales. I'm just kind of a background. Actually, first 9 years I was doing international sales, traveling internationally, and that company needed more product focus. So I began to own some of the products that we were selling. The the product, traditional marketing and that owning of products. Then I took a role at Cardinal Health, and that's where I really started in 2009 is when I first entered the healthcare market, but as that role of product owner. So yes, it grows, it changes. But I think the most important is that capacity that you have as very intelligent individuals that you all are to know that learning is a journey and you'll continue learning and growing. And that actually takes us into like this next slide. And this is a lesson for myself. You would have seen my title was former, that title. I am in a personal transition. Cardinal Health is undergoing many changes, and in that transition. So as you in your careers, and not all of you are going to be traditional MDs. I understand if you're here in this group today of loving innovation, you may be working for biopharma companies. You may be working in research and development. You may work in other types of more business capacities, and careers change. So is a career, walking up a ladder, linear, straightforward? No, it's not. It's that jungle gym, and there's times that you're going to take a side, you're a lateral. But if you always have that passion that you want to learn more, that's what's the positive. And I'm going to take a little pause because I'm excited to see that Snehal Desai, my former manager at Cardinal Health, hi Snehal, just joined. He had another interview, but he said he could maybe join. He's a former Case Western grad. So he was our chief data and analytics officer at Cardinal Health. I was the program director for data and analytics. And I thought, as we now go into a more content-rich conversation, as we move past here, I asked that he join in because I thought it would be valuable to all of you. Snehal, do you want to say a few words, introduction?
No, happy to be here. Like fellow doctors at Case, my son has applied and completed his interview for Case Medical College. So I'm excited if he follows my footsteps to join Case.
Great. So, okay, so let's get into Cardinal Health. I'll just give you some background, then we'll start talking about some use cases and work that's being done that might be fun for you and innovative. So Cardinal Health is, at one time they were rather equal, but they're the three largest pharmaceutical distribution companies in the U.S. market: McKesson, ABC, Cardinal Health. It is in any capacity. If you were going to work in an acute setting, for example, 90% of all U.S. hospitals are touched in some way by Cardinal Health, and Cardinal Health is headquartered here in Dublin, Ohio. So it is, a very large Fortune 500, actually in the Fortune 20 company. When I say that, it's because it generates $181 billion in revenue each year, but the margins are itty bitty thin. So Cardinal Health, as we look at that organization, it has two main segments. It has its core business, pharmaceutical distribution, with 27 distribution sites across the country, with an arm of specialty drug distribution as well. That's the pharmaceutical, traditional moving boxes, ensuring that your acute pharmacies, your retail pharmacies, your mom and pop retail independent pharmacies are stocked, and the boxes are moving and patients are served. Then there's the medical division of Cardinal Health, which distributes as well medical products, some which are Cardinal branded, others of national brands, and selling those products. Other peripheral industries as well. So this is both Snehal and myself are former employees of Cardinal Health, so we can speak to use cases and stories of Cardinal. I'll pause on this slide. Any questions about Cardinal Health or the industry of pharmaceutical or medical products distribution?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a question about the distribution of pharmaceuticals. That seems to be a field that would have like specific factors that need to be taken into account, like insurance. How does Cardinal address that issue?
Like insurance?
Yeah.
So So from that perspective, interesting you say that. So the customers in that case of Cardinal Health, right, would be the pharmacies, the pharmacies themselves. So CVS is, for example, the largest customer of Cardinal Health. The buyers within hospital acute systems and so forth. When it comes to making a more seamless relationships with payers, Cardinal does have services. So we have this is more of a business to, I guess you could say, business B2B transactions, right? We have B2C arm as well. For example, At Home. It was an acquisition out of Cleveland. It is for home healthcare products. As you could see, 3.4 million home healthcare patients. And within that business, yes, definitely dealing with the payers as well. So that is a business that is B2C and direct to the patient. So making sure that let's say blood glucose monitoring devices, products that need, that require prior authorization, those products then delivered directly to the patient, and services are provided to ensure that, the payers are in the loop as well. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you.
So from a perspective of Cardinal Health, this is last year's strategic view from, think of a company of 181 billion to get a strategic, slide of strategic direction all on one page. That is, not many words can show up on this one page. So why do they exist? Why does Cardinal? It's to deliver products and solutions to improve the lives of people every day. What I was showing with this slide, because where we're going to be going is talking about AI and machine learning and analytics, is just the fact that a company as large as Cardinal understands that data and analytics is the future. The fact that where we are going made the page is important. So the key is focusing on the customer and investing in a future, delivering results, but doing through innovation is all part of that path forward or that strategic direction.
I would like to ask a question. This is Mahmoud Gannoum. I am a co-director of the Pathway. I couldn't stay silent when I'm seeing about data and analytics, especially we work with the microbiome. I'm sure you know about the microbiome and the big data, how you can use the big data to come out with products, to adjust gut health and this sort of thing. And of course, part of it could be AI as well. So when you are talking about data, do you consider looking at something like the microbiome or not? And just for the sake of transparency, I started a company called, with my son, Biome Health, BIOHM, Biome Health, where we are using data to come out with products. So that's microbiome data, both bacteria and fungi in our gut, for example, and come out with new products. So when you say big data, do you think of microbiome?
So I would say the string that you just stated about, do you think of data as being able to come out with products? Yes, definitely. Cardinal is not a pharmaceutical manufacturer. We're not a biopharma company. So what in that specific type of product, but let's talk about data and analytics more specifically. Maybe here, this is a good one to start. So let's talk about the building blocks to be able to create a product, what you just mentioned, out of data. Because, right, so that building block of creating that product, let's think the bottom of the pyramid. The bottom is what I just mentioned in that slide, that single vision of our path forward, the fact that data and analytics is there, because that bottom rung is a culture of acceptance, a culture of understanding of data. That data must be accessible to data scientists, to users. It must be data must be usable, right? Data, that bottom rung as well is a culture of innovation. It's okay to make mistakes. There can be investment to work in this agile manner. So that's the bottom rung. The middle rung is actually what I'm showing on this slide here. Okay, so the middle rung is, do you have your data in a platform that allows for it to be accessible and usable? So companies like Cardinal Health, right, or probably any large company today, right, the trend is data is in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
And so data is in the cloud, and it is put in what you call in a data lake. This slide here talks about the problems Cardinal had in the where it moved in the future. And I could say many companies are probably like this. Large companies often grow from acquisition, right? And so the companies you buy, they all had their data in the past. And when I say the past, only a decade ago, right? In physical server farms, right? The data were in silos, and so it's that, you know, where the past was it was complex. There's data in different silos around a company. It's maybe unorganized. When people, you know, there's multiple groups and it's inefficient. So people, if they want to try to find an answer, you're mentioning, you know, biome health, but to glean an answer from data, they're having to pull, let's say spreadsheets, but they're having to pull from one place to another and bring all that data together. The future is bringing that data into a single data lake first. And then think about that ocean, that data ocean. There is layers within there that of data becoming more curated, more prepared so that it can be accessible and usable. Okay, so it's raw data at the bottom, and then it's curated, and then you create data sets. So maybe it's a data set of information about patients of a similar disease state, right? Maybe it's a data set of all types of products that of a certain type. So there's data sets that then can be called upon to build out, and that becomes the springboard. So I was at bottom of the rung, middle, top is then the ability to be kind of a springboard for these applications. So what would that be? It could be a predictive model. It's creating an algorithm of machine learning. The output of that prediction might then use automation. And so all of that, when you say, do you use data as a product, then that model itself is a product, right? All of these assets that I've talked about are products.
And I
don't know if that helps.
No, it's very good. And I would add to Mahmoud's question or to your excellent answer is that for the MDs who do stay in a traditional medical setting, what you show on the left as the problem or the challenge of today is undoubtedly in healthcare, right? Because healthcare systems have also grown by acquisition, right? You get these huge consolidations and you get these giant Intermountain West and Cleveland Clinic and Mass Gen, and they're subsuming data that's been historically in all these silos. And right now, data is almost a pain in the butt for doctors, right? Because they have to put data in and it's not helping make their lives easy, it's making it harder. But one day, when we get over from the left to the right of the screen, it's going to be, oh, now data is your asset. It's going to help you do predictive models. It's going to help you be more efficient. It's going to lead to automation so that you can spend more time on tasks. So this is a wonderful, proxy of what you're seeing in industry to what they're going to see in their early careers.
And similar, when you have the data itself, utilizing artificial intelligence to organize that data to create the predictive models or whatever outcome you need to do with that data. That way, instead of actually having to sift through the data, you could create a singular artificial intelligence with the data set. It sifts through it for you and then organizes it accordingly, essentially pruning the information that you want to create what it is that you need. Would that be like an application of this data set and then using it to make the predictive model?
Yeah. So once you have that, what I just showed you on that slide before, right? It was a picture of the foundation, right? The foundation is a platform. It's a data lake. It exists in the cloud. You're getting beyond me if I say, where's the cloud? Where is this data? It exists there. It run by either GCP or AWS, these companies that keep that data in the cloud for you. And so you have the foundation, this platform, and you may have a foundation of a platform that can kind of store those algorithms, store the bots, these products you've created. But then once you have that foundation of data, that's when the fun, the art and the science comes. So what do I mean by that? That's when you have lots of, if you go out on LinkedIn or not, you go out on searching for jobs, where do jobs exist today? They exist of people that are data scientists, that are doing data management, that understand your data quality. These are all activities that then they can take that data, because we all agree. And in healthcare, and what you just mentioned about, Mayo and so many health systems that acquire other health systems, and there's more of the data than you can deal with. It's actually getting to be able to find insights from data, right? That's the key. And so it's that art and science of these activities of the individual that can do the data analytics and the engineering. And then on top of the cherry on the top of this pyramid is the ability to then visualize the data. So there are many tools used, some of tools such as Tableau. I don't know if you've heard of these, tools, that you're able to take data and graphically show it and interact with it in a way that the layperson can understand and make decisions.
Just for your interest, because you have a son with autism, we did a study where we got fecal samples from kids with autism and their relatives who are not autistic kids, in the same family. And then when we analyzed the microbiome, both bacteria and fungal communities there, we identified, it's like you say, you go from big data, now we are talking about specific population or cohort, which is autistic kids. And then you find that there is an imbalance in their microbiome. And of course, now the idea is, how can we now identify the dysbiosis or imbalance? Can we now see how can we reverse this, reset and maintain this balance to help these kids? So it's it's really, I like the way you have the slide here, because it's exactly what people are doing in different fields, obviously.
Yeah, and I love what you just said, because I personally talked about a career journey. Stahel knows this. I'm prepping after this meeting at 5:15. I have an interview for a job, right? But it would be the ability to package up data and sell it back to a pharmaceutical company.
Sure.
And you can get scared about that and say, oh, but it's PHI, it's patient specific. But if we all understand the guidelines and that data can be masked, we take out my son Alex's name. But I want those companies to have that information. I want, like you just mentioned, a drug that is more specific, that can be targeted to certain disease states, that can be targeted to certain groups of patients to be developed. And it's with that data and that ability to, it's only when you've been able to consolidate that data into that one platform that you can do this art and science and actually glean that more targeted solution.
The last thing, and I'll shut up now, is of course, when you are doing these in patients, you have to follow the HIPAA rules and the consent forms and this sort of thing,
Yes.
approval,
Yes.
So yes, this is well taken. Well taken. Thank you very much.
Hilary, you mentioned, for the jobs there now, if you look, all the data scientists or people can, put data in a meaningful form. Are we doing enough, the educational institutions and other forms of career learning? Is there enough of a roster out there to allow this growth, or is that a challenge for corporations these days?
It's a challenge. That's the area. Finding good data scientists and data engineers is probably one of the hardest skill set to hire right now. And so companies like Cardinal Health will develop out coursework and mini MBAs that you can take in the company, because you have to upskill and find your own people to, so you have people that are analysts, that they were really good with Excel, right? So, but they haven't learned to develop prediction, right? To be able to understand truly how to go from allowing the data itself to go back to being the input. Like machine learning is, the data itself is going back in, that circular, than just writing a program. So, yeah.
Career opportunities, go ahead.
Absolutely. We have a question from the chat, from James. So James, if you want to unmute and ask that.
Yeah, actually, I was pretty happy with the answer that I got in the chat already, but I'll just ask it again for any further elaboration. Having worked in an area where this is pretty relevant before, the data integration seems like it's a pretty massive challenge. So I'm just wondering if you have any insights as to how you might go about integrating honestly pretty disparate data sets, when they're health records. Usually these EHRs are pretty notorious for not playing nice with other kind of integration software. But then also how you take like finance and accounting records or supply chains and logistics and how you kind of bring that into one single platform to be able to drive insights.
So it's a set of, it's tagging, it's developing data sets, but Snehal, would you like to share with the group if more of an engineering perspective of how that's done?
Yeah, James, that's the holy grail if you ask technologists like us. Like data, when it was collected or recorded, had a very specific purpose and a meaning. To take that data set and make it available and accessible for other usage is very difficult. One difficulty is finding it. Second difficulty is integrating it, as you mentioned. And so I like to think of it in terms of how the world was, say, 30 years ago, when there were no electronic medical records or EHR, and first Epic was created. And now I haven't met a doctor that does not hate Epic, but does not love it also. But technologists like us think Epic is great because now I have some standardization of what is a visit, or what is the coding, or what is the ICN code or HCFS code or others. And so we are able to now tag and connect the data sets much more. But at the same time, the usage of data is also exponentially increasing, and hence balancing those two is going to be where you will see a lot more innovation happening. A lot of people talk about drug development and AI being used to cure cancer, so to speak. The real hard work is basically going to be exactly, James, the question you asked as to how can you take data out of a platform and get it tagged, connected, and more usable for other use cases. There's some good engineering, automation, and AI work being done in those fields. Hope that helps. I'm not trying to scare you, but at the same time, I'm trying to give you a balanced answer that help is on the way and things are definitely improving.
No, that's a great answer. Thank you so much. Very insightful.
We have another question from Bob on the Zoom. I see a hand raised. So Bob, do you mind unmuting?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, this is Bob Sopko from Case LaunchNet. My daughter, Kaylee, is a graduate of Weatherhead MBA, also Masters of Public Health, and she works at Cardinal with Wavemark and also
nice.
Yeah, with the RFID implementations.
Yeah.
So for the audience, because I also came from a pharmacy background, super small gross margins, and just making that supply chain clean and easy for the customer, and then kind of locking that customer into the wonderful system you have so that they don't go to other players to fill their needed supplies, and also watching that supply to make sure it's not outdated, and if it's getting close to outdated, to make sure it gets returned and that it's not there. So but again, refining that component of the healthcare system so it's easier to make sure you don't run out of gloves and syringes and sponges and everything else. So she's enjoyed it for a very long time. It's a lot of heavy lifting now. Getting all those things to work together is very hard. And then on the hospital side, getting people to accept a change in the way they do business is very, very difficult. That's it.
Thank you, Bob. You make pains look easier, but I appreciate that. Yes.
So somebody raising their hand in the back?
Yeah, Scott Perkins again. Just, yeah, since we've been on this topic of kind of challenges of implementation of all these data systems, AI systems, I'd be curious if maybe one or both of you could share a concrete example from your work where kind of there appeared to be a lot of potential, there's a lot of excitement around a certain kind of data tool or analytics tool or possible application that it ended up not working out, and kind of why that was. Just obviously AI has been so hyped up recently. I think it's important for us to learn from past examples where it didn't work so that we can better apply it moving forward. So I was just wondering if any examples come to mind of kind of times when something appears like it might be a really good idea that it ended up not working.
Well, something I had some other slides to start sharing examples. I have to admit, I picked out the slides of things that have worked, right? But I think that what you tie on of things that don't work, it's important to talk about innovation and the process of innovation and how important it is to allow for failure to happen. So one thing that we had established within the data and analytics team was an annual hackathon. Okay, so what is that? It's a period like, let's say, Thursday through Monday. So a long weekend, right? Where problems are given and teams come together and are formed. So what makes a good team? You know, a good team, functional team, business, developers, data scientists, data engineers, and they are asked to, you know, to propose a problem in the business or with you know, it may be internal for efficiency creating, or it may be for patient care and improving for the customer, and present those ideas, right? And so, you know, they come in, and some over that long weekend, it may fail, like you just mentioned. But then there are key winners out of it. It's kind of like Shark Tank, you know, or where those ideas are judged. And this is just an example of two ideas that went on to become funded business cases and truly drive and make change in the company. So I can, you know, give those examples as well if you'd like.
Sure.
So for example, I think I mentioned at front, you were asking kind of B2B, B2C, the B2C side of the business of bringing care to you know, products directly to the patient, right, is at home, the at-home business. And one of the areas, as we know, diabetes, ever increasing disease state, it's helping to get through the prior authorization process, helping to in a faster sense and get the product to the customer. So in 2020, the winning group had put together a model that basically categorizes customers by their likelihood to buy. So those that are more likely, they have all their information ready, they can self-serve, they can buy via e-commerce, and those orders will go through fine. But those orders that there may be from the provider, they may be lacking information, there may be questions with the payer, the prior authorization for it was not in place. There might be hiccups, and they need white glove service. They need somebody to call them, the actual patient, and help them through the process to make sure they're getting their device. And then lots of different steps along the way to improve our own systems internally to lower the number of days it takes for the script to be written to the customer actually getting their glucose monitoring device and start to use it. Okay. So just an example, you know, that of how, you know, we go innovation ideas and then get that to work. This one above 2021, Cardinal I think Bob, was it that said, yes, we know that the margins are very thin, that yes, any pharmaceutical business, the only money that's made by anybody in the chain is on generics. And even then on the generics, it's only on the Cardinal Health. Cardinal Health does this, McKesson does this, all of the distributors have their own contract, right? So they've contracted out with the generic drug manufacturers of their, and it's in that kind of sweet spot where some margin can be made. And so anything that can be done to win back lost business, where if we were selling to a CVS or to a Mayo Clinic, and there are certain products they were buying from us and then they stopped because they've diverted that order somewhere else, if we just need to lower our price just by a little bit to win that back, that's going to be profitable. So it's think of bringing all that data together to be able to have a predictive algorithm to know how to position and price products correctly. That's another example of a use case of using the data to create a predictive algorithm and change behavior.
Hey, Hilary, if I may, to share one of the failures, just to bring it to life, that AI is good, but it is not great yet. Like if you are a baseball betting person, the current betting average on most AI projects is less than 0.3, so to speak. So if you start with 10 ideas, that's what we do with these kinds of hackathons that Hilary mentioned. We try to see if 5 of these ideas that are crystal clear and has a business value gets into the next stage. Out of 5, only 1 or 2 go into what is called production and start making money for the business or improve customer service. So having said that, one of the examples that was in the top 3 in 2021, but when we tried to take it into production in 2022, it did not work, was kind of determining how many people would be needed in a warehouse to fulfill an order, so to speak, right? So we are a warehouse fulfillment organization. There are 100 people that come to work that fill those orders, so to speak. And what we found was the reason the model worked, but the solution did not work, was twofold. One, changing the culture and taking the decisioning rights from humans, it takes time. Like if I said, Bob, go do X, now the machine says, Bob should not do X. I, as a supervisor, will not like that answer, so to speak. So taking that change in culture of decisioning and others is one. And the second one was the changing kind of employment during the pandemic did not make it right. We were not able to keep more than, so if there are 100 people working in a warehouse, we were losing 30 of them in a 6-month period. And so you cannot train somebody and that person is gone, so to speak. So these are realities of AI. Most people would say AI did not work. I kind of say the AI algorithm worked, but the solution did not work for the business, so to speak. Hope that makes sense, because I think AI gets a bad name. AI gets a good name also when it works. The story is usually in between, because there is always a human involved in accepting what the AI does. And then that culture change is quite high.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful example of what we're hearing at the hospital level. And what's good about it is it means that you guys as MDs one day are going to get to participate in AI, even if you're not a data person or computer person. IBM's failings to date, most people will say the doctors make it really easy. They go, yeah, because these idiots never talk to us. They build out this algorithm and they go, use this, and they don't understand clinical workflows. And they don't understand what it changes in our staffing, or it does this, but it doesn't do these 4 other things we need, so it doesn't save and bring any efficiencies. And I think that will come as we pair, Hilary said earlier, as you start to have humans interact more with AI, and it's going to be a tool for the humans to use rather than a supplement, rather than replacing their decision. But again, what's good for you as leaders is you're gonna work with these tools and help them be better, so that the AI can, save lives and bring efficiencies, etc.
The other thing I think related to this is sometimes when we're talking about big data, it's the complexity of it. To go to the customer you want, they don't understand it. And I can give you a real example again from the microbiome. I mean, clinicians don't know what the hell is microbiome is. So we have to spend a lot of time to educate them about, CMEs and whatever. And currently I'm writing actually a paper called Demystifying the Microbiome because they don't understand it. So that's one big challenge where we have to make it accessible to clinicians and practitioners. Otherwise, they, no matter what product you come out with, because they don't understand, they want to go to the old ways.
Well said. Agree completely.
I have one last final wrap-up question relating to the use of AI, especially in our day-to-day lives and as our workflow as physicians. Specifically, the invention of the new sort of AI. It's called ChatGPT. It's been in the news recently because you ask it to do seemingly anything, and it can do it for you. It's a really impressive thing. And as physicians, it sort of raises the question of, okay, if this information can be brought up in such an efficient manner so quickly, it really does raise questions for the future of our career and the future of healthcare in general. I don't know if you necessarily have experience with it, but it's a language learning or it's a language software, a large language software, and it has the capacity to write emails, to make music even, or many things in between. I wanted to see if I could get your thoughts on that.
Sure. So I am a data and AI guy for 30 years. So if you ask me a question like that, I'm always going to give you my perspective, but it's going to be more balanced, right? So first, I'll tell you the good news about ChatGPT, and then I'll tell you why it, in my opinion, at least in the next 5, 10, 15 years, it will not replace a human being per se, so to speak. So first and foremost, ChatGPT, for those of you that don't know, is, as you mentioned, a large language model. And so what is a large language model as compared to a small data model or small language? Today, if you use an iPhone, you are using one of the Siri, which is basically also a large language model. It has been trained by 1 million people talking to it and it understanding dialogues and languages and things like that. Similarly, ChatGPT is a model that has been developed by a company called OpenAI. What is very nice or great about it is it was developed literally in 2.5 years. And so one of the first things you're going to see is how fast AI is going to get used to build these kinds of models, right? Whether it is the COVID vaccine and clinical trials and stuff. And so as doctors, I would say embrace data and AI. You will not be able to get away from it because there is going to be always this new news that keeps coming up, which will say, hey, this is going to be change and innovation and it's going to break it. So ChatGPT is great, but ChatGPT is not going to be able to answer why do I have cold or is this flu or COVID per se, right? And it is going to take a lot of time and training and specific what I call small data sets that only humans have today. And so again, I'll go back to it will take another 10 to 15 years to take ChatGPT and make it work for financial articles or make it work for doctors that have to comb through 300 WebMD articles per se to write an article, right? So taking what ChatGPT does today for common languages, right? I give you 3 bullets and it will basically write you a whole paragraph or essays, right? So my daughter is very excited about it because her homework will get done faster today. Believe me, it is, right? But my son says it can be used to replace a doctor, right, as he's trying to become a doctor. So in our household, we have a lot of these pros and cons dialogues as to how it is improving, but how it is not going to replace. AI is getting used for drug development, but it is not going to short circuit clinical trials and other things also. AI is going to be used to recommend surgeries in orthopedics and when should you get colonoscopy and others. Like there are use cases I can share that a friend of mine or peers of mine in health systems, you mentioned Mayo, Brigham Young and others are conducting. But still, whether a patient needs a procedure or not, or a patient needs a certain diagnosis is not going to get changed by ChatGPT. So I hope you get excited about this, you keep your mind open about data and AI, but I wouldn't worry any one of you. And truly, if I would be, I wouldn't let my son become a doctor.
And I had, Jonathan, in our chat we had prior to this meeting, and I said that no longer maybe will the doctor need to go hide in the broom closet to look at the manuals of how to help that patient. It just allows for that information at your fingertips, but it's not replacing the medical professional.
Great. All right, I will jump back in. This was a very fast hour. Thank you so much, Hilary, for joining us today. Jonathan, thanks for moderating. You did a great job. We'll be back together with this group next month. Just to give a little promo for some other Veale commercial, an infomercial for some other programming. On the 30th of January, I didn't even know what your questions are. The former CTO of Etsy, who's a Weatherhead alum named Mike Fisher. The talk will be to chat GPT or not to chat GPT. So we were just together last week. He's actually Cleveland based. And it's, by the way, I'm heading from here to my entrepreneurial finance class at Weatherhead, where we'll be talking about ChatGPT or OpenAI's $29 billion valuation. And so it really is in the news. So Mike Fisher will be with us. We also have an event, 2 events next week. One from somebody at the World Bank that's a leading, has a book out, a friend of mine from grad school on particularly in female entrepreneurship. And on January 26th, Carrington Cole from L'Oreal will be speaking on foundations of work in the beauty industry. And I know you med student types have broad interests, so maybe you'll join us for that. Again, thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Snehal, for joining. Best of luck to your son. Maybe he'll be sitting in this room next year, hearing some speakers. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Thanks to everybody who joined online and in person here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.